Hello, boys and girls. It's Sunday morning, very early morning, and I'm sitting here behind the wheel of a Toyota Land Cruiser 150, which is better known as Prado in some markets. So, what am I doing here at this early hour of the Sunday morning? Well, I'm going to meet some people who, unlike me, do know a thing or two about off-roading, and hopefully they're going to help me test this car in rougher terrain. The good news is that it's sunny today. The bad news is it was raining all the way through yesterday, so it could be quite muddy. Yuck. Toyota Land Cruiser Prado has been given a facelift. New lamps in the back, new headlamps in the front, a new grille, refreshed interior, and a whole array of safety systems, including adaptive cruise control or the new infotainment system, which, by the way, is so slow to react that if you want to make a phone call, sometimes it's quicker to stop and call using your hands. But at least there's a fridge. In the back there is enough space even to fit 3 adults abreast. And if you need more space, there is the optional third row of seats. You can access it only from the curbside. It is a bit of a challenge to get in, but once you are in, these seats can even accommodate adults. The problem with the rear seats when they're unfolded is that there isn't much space left in the back. There actually isn't any space, for example, for this boot cover. Toyota didn't think about that, so if you didn't plan to carry additional passengers, someone will have to hold this thing on his or her lap. Now let me get rid of this for a moment. Another problem is that these doors open 1.5 meters. You have to take this into account when reverse parking if you want to put some shopping in here. Of course, Toyota theoretically thought about that, and you can open this window here, but if you're, well, about my height or shorter, you will have problems reaching down there. Now, the Land Cruiser is one of the few cars that's still built on a frame. What does it mean? Most cars these days and SUVs have monocoque chassis. It means that the chassis and the suspension, they're all glued together to make the car more rigid. In this case, there is a frame which you can see here. Now, this frame is heavier, but it makes the chassis stiffer, which is good when you're going off-road. However, it's also heavier, and on the road it doesn't handle as well. Now, most of you will probably never go off-road, but Toyota thinks that the Land Cruiser will be driven not just by soccer moms carrying their kids to school, soccer practices and all that. It may also be used by people living in, say, some remote regions of the Middle East or perhaps Central Asia. Some guys who like to carry some explosives in the back rather than kids. So this is why this car has a frame rather than a monocoque chassis. It's much better off-road that way. A more rigid construction is one thing, but the Land Cruiser can also wade in water up to 700 millimeters deep, which is about up to the top of the tire. The approach angle is 32 degrees, the breakover angle is 22 degrees, and the departure angle is 25 degrees. There is a rear and central diff lock, systems helping you to get through different kinds of terrain, and downhill assist. And now let's see how it performs in real life. In real life, the more experience you have, the more you want to go off-roading in a bigger group. Chances are you will need someone to tow you out. These things happen.
Since we managed to get through the off-road course, let's go back to where this car will spend most of its life, which is on the road.
And on the road, the Land Cruiser is more of a tractor than a car. Yes, it can do tight turns when you're off-road, but on the road, this means that even the smallest maneuver requires a big move from the steering wheel. So see, I'm turning the wheel like that and the car is still sort of going straight, or rather floating. Which brings me to the suspension. Again, the suspension is great when you're off-road. It tackles all the obstacles easily. But on your normal straight road, it's, well, kind of soft. It's like, I don't know, sailing a boat rather than driving a car. So that's not really good, is it? Now, the upside, well, it's not really an upside, it's rather a side effect. You don't really have to brake for speed bumps. The 3-liter diesel is loud, and with this 5-speed automatic gearbox, the whole drivetrain, it's hardly refined, really. Now, the car does accelerate when you step on it, but it doesn't really like it, as you can probably hear it. This is a 4-cylinder engine, and yeah, that's the problem. To accelerate, you really have to put your foot down. There doesn't seem to be like a middle ground. So when it accelerates too fast, you have to let go and let the car coast a bit. Now, this sort of sharp accelerating business, it doesn't help achieving the sort of fuel economy that the manufacturer claims, and Toyota promises this car will do about 8 liters per 100 kilometers in the combined cycle, and I'm getting somewhere like between 11 and 12, and in the city 14-15 liters per 100 kilometers. That's realistic, and that's not really good if you just want to take your kids to school and back. It's a different story if you're a militiaman or something like that, but, well. Prices of the refreshed Toyota Land Cruiser 150 start at around 40,000 euros for the 3-door car and around 43,000 euros for the 5-door car. This model here, this test example, costs around 75,000 euros. That's with the optional 3rd row of seats. Now, if you don't do any heavier off-roading, if you don't go any further than, say, your summer house, I suggest you go for BMW X5. You can watch a review here. And if you were looking for a fast SUV, check out Grand Jeep Cherokee SRT by clicking here. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel by clicking the logo up here. New tests, reviews every Friday. You can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and Google+. You'll find all the links down here below in the description. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.